Okay, chapter 19 is called The Monster and the Slave Boy. The deadly shadow landed lightly on the sand. Hiccup scrambled from his back and ran to the confused mess of belongings. Maybe it wasn't Fish Legs. Perhaps it was some other poor soul. It could have been anybody after all. They lost people to the evil reaches every single day. And when he reached the sand yacht, Hiccup spotted something half buried. With a shaking hand, Hiccup drew it out, the crushed, mangled remains of something. The something was Fish Legs' precious rucksack. He had made that rucksack out of the lobster pot that he had been found in when he was a baby, and it contained the few belongings that he had owned in the world. Just to be absolutely certain, when Hiccup picked it up, a smashed bottle of old Wrinkly's asthma potion fell out, and the potion leaked like blood, staining into the sand. Hiccup tried to reshape the crushed, mangled remains of the lobster pot cum rucksack back into its original shape. This was it, then. This meant that Fish Legs really was dead. There was no hiding from it anymore. The story of the monster slave master had been true after all. It had been true, and it had happened to Fish Legs. Behind Hiccup. Now there, look, that's Hiccup holding the lobster pot turned into a rucksack that belonged. There's the deadly shadow with his 3 heads. They're all looking. Hiccup, but the giant shiny heads of the deadly shadow. The poor animal seemed crushed. He had hoped against hope, and now those hopes had been crushed again. The 3 heads lift the lobster pot. What was his name? Asked Patience. Fish Legs, said Hiccup, crying. Fish Legs, they hissed, waving like they were being snake charmed again. Fish Legs, Fish Legs, Fish Legs, they chanted, performing a sad dance around the lobster pot. They seemed to recognise the lobster pot strangely, and they drank in the smell of it like it was the smell of the past. There is nothing more evocative, nothing that brings back memories like smell. Hiccup held it up to the heads, unable to stop crying. I shouldn't have let him give me the lucky necklace, sobbed Hiccup. I shouldn't have let him give away what little luck he had. He may not be dead, said the left head, Innocence, hopefully looking round. There are many islands round here. Maybe he got away. Perhaps he found one of the islands. Maybe he's still there. Oh, snorted Arrogance. You're deluded. Always look on the bright side. He's clearly dead. At that, Hiccup felt overwhelmed. He sank down, crying on the sand. The deadly shadow cried too. Even his Camouflage and the Stormfly cried, and they never cried. Hiccup could feel the wet sand below him, the red of the asthma potion that he had broken seeping into the front of his dragon skin farsuit. He cried until it was a little empty, cried-out rag lying on the sand, the front of him now stained red. A light rain was falling on him now. He could feel the sand below him getting a little wetter, as if the tide was going to rise. Go back! Something inside was speaking to him. Go back and find the jewel. Become the king. Do it for Fish Legs and everyone like him. Defiantly, Hiccup dried his eyes with the edge of his sleeve. He put the broken remains of Fish Legs' lobster pot on his back and staggered blindly towards the deadly shadow dragon. Without a word, Kamikaze was doing the same. And then they stopped dead, for the deadly shadow was having an argument with itself again. If this Fish Legs is dead, hissed Arrogance, then we will no longer need to keep our promise about the lobster necklace. But Fish Legs may not be dead, said Innocence. Neither Arrogance nor Patience looked very convinced by this argument. And the boy is a friend of this Fish Legs, argued Innocence. Patience was still undecided. The boy seeks the jewel, hissed Arrogance, and the jewel must never fall into human hands. If we kill him, at least we keep our promise to the Dragon Furious, and the jewel will be safe. For look, the human race is not capable of using such powers wisely. In the end, it can only destroy. Now Arrogance knew he had won the day. The 3 heads narrowed their eyes and turned toward Hiccup. Uh-oh, said Hiccup. The 3 heads were lowered. Dangerous. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. The deadly shadow crept forward and fell to the ground with a shriek. Oh dear. Chapter 20 is called Oh Dear. Oh dear. I have to see what happened. Oh, let's just tell you what's happened, because I'll just begin chapter 20. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And that doesn't really cover it. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You would have thought that you'd heard the worst of it, wouldn't you? That Hiccup had all that he could take. But oh dear, it's the little details we should not forget. The little things that catch us up and trip us. The warriors of the Wild West always set the dragon traps in twos, so that if some other poor dragon landed beside to help another, then it would get caught too. Snap! The second trap snapped shut, catching the deadly shadow in its cruel jaws. The deadly shadow put back its head and howled the truly dreadful howl that a dragon howls when he's caught in trap. It's an awful sound, for a dragon is the wild creature of the air, and so its horror of being trapped is such a ghastly wail of ultimate despair, it is almost unbearable. Oh dear, I'm going to have to finish this chapter. These howls were multiplied 3 times, and the dragon sent out great bolts of lightning all around it, north, south, east and west, with such randomness that Hiccup and Kamikaze had to duck behind the sand yacht. Not that that would have been much good to them if the deadly cat shadow had just scored a direct hit with a lightning bolt, but it's sort of an automatic reaction thing. The dragon howled and thrashed, but it could not work its foot free. Hiccup put his head above the edge of the sand yacht and shouted, "I can free your foot from the dragon trap if you let me come near," and then ducked as a lightning bolt came singing over the top of his head, and there was a smell of burnt hair. There was silence for a second, apart from the sound of the dragon heads arguing among themselves, and at last Patience called out, "Come close." Then Hiccup stepped gingerly forward. The deadly shadow was lying on its side. It was trembling. Hiccup swallowed as he saw the trap. It was immense and one of the most complicated he had ever seen, a fiendish contraption of clockwork complexity. It was far more complicated than it even needed to be to do its dreadful work, almost as if its maker had been showing off when he'd designed it. Hiccup stroked the dragon's turning side soothingly. "I can do this," he said. "I can do this." Thank Thor he had spent the last year learning how to undo dragon traps. Hiccup took off his waistcoat and knelt by the trap. Kamikaze drew both swords and started pacing around the deadly shadow, just as he had paced around Hiccup and Kamikaze earlier in the day. Okay, so the deadly shadow is about to learn, I think, that Hiccup, he's going to learn, Hiccup, because the deadly shadow was going to kill. Oh, I love the look in the deadly shadow's eyes there. He's looking to Hiccup to save him, isn't he? He's about to learn. Yeah, he's about to learn that Hiccup is a good person. Anyway, chapter 21, a story from the past. Because Hiccup's had all that practice, so Deadly Shadow was going to kill him, I think. But Hiccup's had all that practice now. Now he's been caught by a trap. He needs Hiccup. So we're going to hear a story from the past in the next chapter. See you.